Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my overview of Mullet Madjack. For those not across it, I do overviews and reviews pretty much daily on the channel, and when it comes to an overview, I just have a look at the first 2 hours of the game. That's the Steam refund window. Steam reckons you can make up your mind about whether you want to keep a game or refund it in that time period, and I tend to agree. Broadly speaking, 20 hours in, you're not going to change your mind about something from 2 hours in. And so this allows me to do a short punchy video, keep it 10 minutes, give you the broad strokes ideas. Maybe you want to check it out yourself, and I can triage what I will and won't review going forward. So boys, we are eating good. It has been a string of outrageously good games this past week or two. This is no exception. This game is cracked and I love it. I don't know how much it is because I'm playing it in pre-release and devs are becoming more and more cagey about pre-release price points, which messes with my systems a bit, but I digress. But worth your time, with your money, I would say so. Yeah, I've put 2 hours into it so far and loved every second of it. It is an absolute dopamine simulator. It's almost like Carpenter Brute the game, or maybe another cultural touchstone would be a bit of a successor to things like Hotline Miami. Every part of this project is considered and polished from top to bottom. It plays it straight. You're playing this mulleted 80s anime futurism cyber tech bloody mullet hero. And he's dropping one-liners non-stop, and it's all very fantastic. And the whole core conceit of this is that you're part of essentially a game show, like a live stream, and the game's poking jabs at everything from streaming culture. I mean, they call you the moderator. So it's poking at moderators, and the whole conceit is AI robot billionaires have taken over in this future, and they get entertainment of watching humans try and survive 10 seconds at a time. You got to get your dopamine kick, and if you don't get it in 10 seconds, you die. It's pretty wild, and that's the core gameplay loop as well. So you're essentially sort of gauntlet running in a pseudo-roguelike, run-based, I don't know what else to call it, because it's still chapter-based and narrative-based, where you're trying to save this bloody hot influencer princess chick, and she keeps getting Mario'd every 10 levels. You fight a boss, and then she gets moved to the next 10 levels, that sort of thing. But whatever, it's a MacGuffin, it's a carrot on a stick, and it's done fairly well. But yeah, so you're just running, almost you could say a straight line. It's intentionally linear, but you obviously have to aim and maneuver, and as the levels go on, it becomes more complex, and there's shortcuts and aerial sections, and I don't want to give away where it goes, but it actually just keeps adding more to the formula. And narratively, there's a lot going on here as well, which I would not have expected, right? This is much closer to just a pure gameplay kind of game, but it's got a pretty kind of cool, compelling, hammed up story, and again, it plays it absolutely straight-faced as well. So you probably get all wankers writing media literacy friggin' essays on this, and it's commentary on corporatism. No, what it is it's just actually well done and well played and well written, similar to something like a Helldivers 2, right? And it's just absolutely cracked fun to play. So you run through these gauntlets, you're constantly killing these robots, and you've got a 10-second timer, and it tops up. So it's sort of like New York Minute, I guess, from Max Payne, but on crack. And at the end of each little level run, you have like an item shop. You can pick 3 things. You can change weapons, upgrades, and all that. The items aren't that super impactful, but it's there. Like, I don't, if you held my feet to the fire, I would say, I guess maybe the level up roguelike mechanics are probably the weakest part, but at the same time, they're not bad at all. So you sort of pick your poison, you'll start gravitating to favorite weapons. I'm a bit of a fan of the shotgun, though this Uzi spray and pray is really growing on me. So you're just sort of clicking through, you can reload, but you're barely going to. You can slide through dudes and kick them into environmentals. That's one of the really cool things, is all the different environmental kills. So it's, your brain is not looking for a headshot in the twitch reaction moment as you might think in most shooters. You sort of, and I don't know how it's going to look against B-roll or how I can describe this, but you're kind of looking for environmentals as you punch through a door, and you're punching through a door into a mini room every second or two, right? So it is such an overload that you're scanning for windows, wall panels, vending machines, explosive barrels, so you can either kick dudes into things or shoot things to kill them quicker. A lot of the sort of standard bad guys from the beginning are pretty easy to deal with. You can pretty much 1 or 2 tap them with a pistol, but you start getting other stronger enemies introduced, and you really want to be able to take them out as quick as you can. The longer you get, if you spend more than a second killing a dude, you start sort of running at a loss. But yeah, it's super high energy. It's so cool. All of the aesthetic, the soundtrack's really good. However, again, it's not using licensed stuff or anything like that. I don't think anyone's ever going to be able to top in this sort of space something like Hotline Miami. But there's other considerations as well. More and more of these indie games won't use licensed tracks because they want influencers to play their games on stream and all that, and a streamer won't touch something if it's got a licensed soundtrack. So it's all written and thematically really quite cool, but at the same time, nothing really is jumping out making me want to put it in my Spotify library or anything like that. There's a couple of other cool features I've noticed as well. There's like an endless mode I dipped into briefly, and that pretty much just throws together all the different sort of biomes, the different levels. Basically, through the course of this game story, you're going through 10 levels per floor of like a huge skyscraper and going further up, and each floor has, its own environmental quirk, acid pits, death drops, things like that. So going into endless mode without having clocked the game is a little bit much, because it introduces things and elements and stuff that you haven't seen yet. So you probably just want to stick with the main story. If you run out of time and die, it resets you to the beginning of the floor, and each floor has 10 levels, and it can get a bit tricky. I got held up a little bit on the second boss because the game kind of conditions you, and this can be the problem with bosses in some games, because it conditions you to play the game a certain way, which is Thunder Run, and then you come up to a boss where it's almost a rotational strafe arena shoot up, and I kind of got a bit frustrated. I got past it because I was trying to pound into this boss, and it had all these different mechanics and telegraphs and that, and it almost feels like a different game. And the problem is that you've already spent 10 levels to get to that dude, and then you're going to die within seconds because you probably don't stop to look at the mechanics. So that's one thing I would sort of warn against, and there's no real way around it, and I honestly think it's not fantastic gameplay design. Like, example, I'd run through the 10 floors with a shotgun and build everything around, that with all my upgrades. You come up to the boss and I'm trying to barrel into him, but he's, essentially just, you can't trade with him. You put like a couple of shells in him and he just one-taps you pretty much. And what you need to do is kind of hang back, and he's sort of jumping around and doing area telegraphs. And anyway, my point is that it is a radical shift. But once you realize that the bosses are kind of disjointed and don't flow with the rest of the game, you can work around it. Anyway, I'm not trying to bash it, but that was probably the closest thing that I got to as like frustrated with the game. Otherwise, yeah, man, sensory overload. Anyway, outrageously good fun. I don't need to waffle. Check it out yourself, team. Much as leave it there for the time being. I'll catch you guys on the next one.